in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, and thank you for attending today's webinar. If this is your first webinar, let me just give you a quick overview of kind of how we run things. Basically, this will just be a one-way presentation. I'm going to run through a quick slide deck, explain what we're going to be talking about, present the solution, and then we'll do like an in-app demonstration. I'll walk through everything. Throughout the entire presentation, if you have any questions or you'd like me to elaborate on anything, feel free to use the GoToWebinar software. If you look at the software, that window you've got, there should be an area specifically to ask questions. And if I see any questions pop up throughout the time, then I'll go ahead and I'll stop periodically in order to answer those as I can. So with that, let's go ahead and get today started. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Start yelling at me if you can't. And today's webinar is going to be on managing a service delivery process. So Apptivo, yeah, it's a suite of 50 total applications. We can build a bunch of different solutions, and today we're going to specifically talk about the solution that's the right fit for a professional services company who typically has to dispatch their employees off-site to go perform a service, and potentially they're tracking the hours and the time that they spent, and potentially they are in addition to or instead of tracking the labor, the materials that they're using and actually the products that they're going to be charging for in this service. So a couple example companies that this would fit well for, or I guess example people instead of that, would be like any sort of professional service company, any on-site maintenance or repair. So IT service companies or anything like that would definitely be a good fit. Construction company or a landscaping company, and then also like a technical support company or even like a cable installation company. These are all a good fit for the service delivery process. It's not to be confused with a company who manages everything completely internally. So let's just say if you were like a web design company or a lawyer and you're just tracking all of your hours internally, you never really go to the client site and you manage any products or anything, then the project time tracking and billing solution is actually a little bit more correct for you. So this is specifically for a company who's going to send somebody off-site to do the work. And a little bit about me, real quick, I'm a product manager here at Apptivo. I've got a technical background. I got started off in software testing and making sure that everything works right. I'm currently located up in the headquarters of Apptivo in Fremont, California, and I specialize in just working with customers to help them set up Apptivo, help support them, run webinars like this, basically just do everything to help the customer be successful with Apptivo. And for today, the kind of agenda that we got on the plate is I'm going to start off, I'm just going to give you the brief overview of what is Apptivo. I'll open up another slide deck. I'm going to spend 5 minutes running through that. And then we'll talk about the apps that are used specifically for the service delivery process. So we'll talk about this solution. And then I'll give you kind of a high-level overview of what that solution is and how it all flows together, what options you have. And then I'll actually run in there and we'll run through one, maybe two different deals. And we'll start off all the way from a customer coming and requesting a new project, just showing interest in your services, all the way to delivering the service and sending out the invoice so you can get paid. And then at the end, we'll just spend a couple minutes talking about like what possible customization options and changes that you might make to make it work specifically for your business model, and just in general, any Q&A, any questions that pop up. So with that, let's go ahead and get rolling. I'm going to switch over slide decks. Probably should build this all into one slide deck, but I'm going to open up my just general Apptivo one just to kind of get everybody caught up in case this is your first time. So real quick, Apptivo is an online suite of business applications. They're all easy to use. The entire platform is very affordable. We have a single per user per month price, and our applications can talk to each other to automate an entire business process. We have over 50 total applications, but most users, if you're just getting started, you're probably going to use like maybe 5, 6 applications. So when I show you our service delivery solution, you're going to notice it's really just like 6 total applications. They just fit together in a certain flow. Right along that side, Apptivo is like the way it's designed is you pick the apps that work right for you and you put them together into a business flow. But today we're kind of talking about one of our standardized solutions. So you can see right there, one of our primary offerings is the service delivery solution. So you can see these are the apps in play. But we're going to spend more time diving into that. And this is one really key thing about how Apptivo works is we got 50 apps. We understand that's a lot. We understand that there's several apps involved in the service delivery process, but keep in mind you can start wherever you need to. So even though we have the capabilities to track sales and track orders and estimates, maybe right now all you need is invoicing, and that's totally okay. You can start off and only enable the invoicing application and just use that. And then as you see fit, as your company grows and you have a need for more applications, everything else is always just sitting there. It's waiting. It's available for you, and there's no additional cost to add more applications to your company. And everything, it's always going to be completely accessible from any device with an internet connection. Usually you'll be using the web browser on one of your computers, or we also have some mobile applications for iPhone and Android. And that's it for the general demo. So now let's talk a little bit more back to our main topic right here, which is the service delivery process. So before I show you, okay, Apptivo has a bunch of solutions, and we're going to focus on one of these solutions today. So here's a little bit of a deeper breakdown on the primary applications involved in this process. There is one other application which is not on here, which is the Cases app. But let me run through and I'll explain the purpose of each one of these real quickly, and then I'll talk about the Cases app as well. So what we have here is there's basically 3 phases of delivery in your deal. So in the beginning, we have the sales process, which some companies don't even track this. Some companies just people call in with orders right away, so this isn't necessary. But this could start off where, okay, somebody contacts you from your website, and you can have a lead get created. And then as you call them and you learn more about them and figure out if you're actually going to be able to do business with this customer, you can qualify them and you move them on to the next stage, which is called the opportunity. So there's a specific app just for your opportunities. And then the idea is, once again, you continue just calling them, tracking. You get to track all of your communications and all the details of what they're interested in, everything in that opportunity. And then hopefully you can move it on to the next stage where maybe you need to issue a quote before you can close the deal. So we have an application built in where you can send an estimate out via email. It gives them like a nice good-looking PDF with your logo on it. Looks nice and official. And then there's even a form online where they could approve it or not. And then when they approve the estimate, or coming straight from the opportunity, you create the work order. So that's the job where you would actually schedule your technicians to go off-site. They would track all the time that they spent and everything like that. And then at the end, you can move into invoices. So what you've got here is your sales process. You've got fulfillment, the actual delivery of your process. And then you have your billing cycle, which is collecting payment for the services that you've provided. Now, where Cases comes into this is for a brand new customer, the first time you do business with them. But potentially, let's just say you're in the landscaping business. So you have a new customer. They say, hey, I'm looking for a new landscaper to come by every week and just take care of my grounds. So, okay, you go through the normal process. You give them a quote. They're happy. They call you out. You go out there the first week. Maybe they call you a week later and they say, hey, there's actually a problem. Like we have this patch of grass that is dying. We need you to come out and take a look at it. So what you can do is there's an application called the Cases app. So whenever an existing customer calls in with a problem or some sort of issue or need, we have one application just to manage those problems. And then if you need to, you can even take a case and convert it into a work order. So then you can take that problem and you go schedule somebody to go and fix the problem. And then once again, you have the optional invoicing flow at the end of that. So at a high level, these are the applications that are really involved in the service delivery process. But yeah, keep in mind, you don't have to use all of them. You could start off just using work orders and invoices. You could just use leads. You can choose any combination of these. Now, like I said right there, there's some flexibility in the flows. I just showed you kind of the standard lead to invoice flow if you went through the entire process. But the flow could initiate at many different spots. So you could start off at a sales lead, or you could start off as a sales opportunity, or I could even start off just issuing a quick estimate or an invoice. So I could just send an invoice from scratch. I don't have to generate it from something else. Or I can generate a work order from scratch. I don't have to make it come from an opportunity or anything like that. And then I could turn that into an invoice. Or you could see I could start off at an estimate. So the system is very flexible as far as where your starting point can be. And what you notice is almost everything just ends up with the invoice. Like you always have to get paid for the work that you did. So it's a flexible starting point, flexible ending point, and there's even configurability to enable which one of these flows are even possible. So as an admin, you can control which flows that your employees are able to execute. All right, so that's enough of slides. We've all seen enough PowerPoints for today. Let's actually see the real deal in action. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to log into one of my demonstration accounts here, and let's get rocking. So another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the website. I have a demonstration website It's slow, it's ugly, it's just a demo site, so please forgive the look and feel. You can connect any existing website that you have to Apptivo, and you can make it look absolutely however you want. We have a couple WordPress plugins that you can install on your website, so that's what I used here. And you can see I can have a form that submits the support request, or I could have a form that submits a new sales lead. So you see right there, I just got two different forms on my site. And now we can come through and create a new deal. So these fields, we can collect whatever we want. I'm just going to type in some basic details. Okay, so for this mock deal, let's say that we're like an IT services company and somebody has called us up because they want to purchase a bunch of computers and they want our team to come and set up their entire office so they can start doing business. So I'll finish completing this form, and that's going to create a sales lead to kick off the process. The other ways that a sales lead might enter the system is maybe somebody gives you a call, or maybe one of your friends or existing customers just says, hey, I've got so-and-so, and they're interested in your services. So anything like that is a lead. And then it'll come into the system. We would get an email notification about it, and I would have to go to the Leads app. Quick little note, I just don't have the Leads app added, so I have to add it from the App Store. I'll just make sure I have all the applications in the service delivery process here. So I've got the whole CRM suite. I've got estimates and invoices, so should be all okay. All right, so I'll head over to the Leads app, and that's where we're going to start off our process. And of course, I could have manually created one, just started keying in the details, just like any app. But we had our lead coming in from Katie. So here we go. We got our brand new lead, and we can bring up its details. And since this isn't really focused on sales, just you're doing the general sales activities, if you want to learn more about like how the sales process works in depth, I definitely recommend go check out the webinar. There's one specifically on managing your sales process. So I spent 45 minutes just talking about leads and opportunities and such. But for right here, you're doing the basics. You're contacting them. You're gathering up more info. The important part about the process is you're adding all the information onto this lead. So as we mentioned, they're interested in getting all these new computers and stuff set up at their office. So there's some physical products involved, in addition to our services to go on site and spend hours installing and configuring the equipment. So what I can do is I can start just searching for the items that they're interested in. This will actively search my product database. So we have one application called the Items app, and it's your product database, but it works with like almost all the other apps. So whether you're creating an invoice or tracking a sales opportunity or working on a work order, each one of those is going to have the ability to search and add items from your product database. So here I can see all the different servers I got in there, so I can pick what I would need for them, and then I can add those onto the lead. So it just pops up there, and then the idea is that'll just save me effort. So let's say I've called them a couple times, they're interested in doing business and everything, and got their email and all that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I can move them on to the next stage. So I'll convert this this lead, and then it's going to create these 3 records. Once again, that gets explained in depth more in the Managing Your Sales Process webinar. So here, I'm just going to kind of click through, convert, create these appropriate records. And just keep in mind the customer record is kind of the main hub for everything going on in the future. So if I ever want to look up like a history of invoices or past work orders or anything like that, then the customer record is going to show me absolutely everything that I've done with them in the past. Here I'm just putting in a couple details about the deal, how much money I think it's worth, when is it going to close, and then that'll assist with the software being able to forecast for you. So now I finish up with the lead. Just one quick little note, this happens several times. Whenever you convert a record to the next stage, we never delete the original record. We might hide it, we might prevent you from editing it, but we always archive it and keep it available. So you'll notice that the lead is still existing. It stays right here, but the status has been updated to converted, and I'm not going to be able to make changes to that or anything like that. But if I scroll down, I can see the links to those other relevant records which I just created. So the next stage was an opportunity, and I could click there, or I could go straight to the opportunities application. So Here we can see the newsfeed record came through, but I could also scope it out through my pipeline view. So I can see in November, I'm forecasting that much revenue based on this opportunity. And here, you can basically do much of the same. So we're doing our normal sales activities, calling them, getting any requirements, and eventually getting to the point where we can issue a quote to the customer. So when we're ready to issue a quote, now we're getting a lot closer to the things that are unique to the service delivery process. So from here, we'll just hit convert, and we're going to go to an estimate. Now we get into the line item format, which is how we're going to kind of stick until the end of the deal when we go and invoice the customer. So on here, what you'll notice is the customer and the contact, they're automatically brought over, so it's automatically linked up to there. But I have a couple different options here. One is on the estimate, you can choose an expiration date, so maybe I only want this estimate to be active for 1 month, something like that. You can also control general details. I can give them a discount, or I can tell them how long I want, what kind of payment term or credit I'm going to extend to them. And then one cool thing here is we have the option for template. And I'll show you this in just a second, but you can actually customize the look and the feel of your invoices. And you could have a couple different types of templates. So one example we have is certain companies will do some business with government entities, some business with commercial entities, some business with residential entities. And maybe they have different requirements for how the estimate needs to appear for each one of these parties. So what they can do is they can actually create one template for each one. And then from this drop-down, they'd be able to select which template applies to this specific estimate. And it just changes the look and feel of it as needed. And then otherwise, there is a setting where if you're outside of the U.S. Or if you are billing in a currency outside of the currency from your current country, we do have multi-currency support. It's just disabled out of the box, but keep that in mind. Now let's get down to the meat of things, which is right here, the items and the services. So we already linked up our products when we were viewing that sales opportunity, and we can see that the products have automatically been brought over. The difference is, it brings over the quantity and the price and everything, which we already saw, but it's also going to bring over the detailed breakdown, any description that you have stored inside of your product database. And I'd have the option to throw additional notes on here. So, I could just wipe all that and say, we will install and configure all servers, something like that. If at this point, if I need to add more items, very simple to do so. I can just start typing in an existing product, or you can even create new products in your database on the fly right here. So I can just key in my details, and then that immediately becomes available for the next time I issue an estimate. And another feature which you might have noticed is we have integration with supplier management here. So especially in this case, it's very frequent where I'm just going to be purchasing this product directly from another vendor and immediately marking up the price and selling it off to my customer, in addition to the services of installing that product. So in this case, I'm buying some servers and then I'm installing them. So I might be purchasing these servers. I might already have a relationship with one of my vendors. And this is actually a really cool part is, there's a separate area in supply chain where I've set up a vendor called Glycex, and I defined exactly how much money that I can purchase this Dell server from Glycex. So I can see here that I'm going to charge my customer $500 per unit, but I already have a deal set up for $250 per unit from my supplier. So right there, I can instantly see how much profit I'm making on each line item that I'm doing. And you'll see that, let's see if I have any cases like this. If I use a product that has multiple suppliers, it'll actually allow you to select which supplier that you want to source from. So you can see here that, hey, I know that I'd rather buy for $5,000 from this supplier, so I'm going to source from them for this specific product instead. And that's all just wired in automatically. We have some really cool integrations there. And otherwise, you might have the need to track additional details on here. So one example was like that, like a landscaping company. So we've had a client before, and they trim trees. They go out there, and what they needed to do was they needed to track for every line item that they're charging, they needed to track the specific species of trees that they were trimming. So they have like a standard trimming price, but they still wanted to indicate what type of tree that it was. So in our specific example right here, maybe we would need to have a field that says like installation price included or not. Maybe something like server brand. The idea is that I can include fields for every individual line on my estimate, or if I wanted to, I could put additional fields up here. But we can also talk about that at the end when we go through some of the configuration that you can do. But in general, I've got my products on here, and if I know of any services ahead of time, then I can type them in. So let's just say I'm going to charge them for 5 hours, $50 an hour for installation, and that's just like the base price for me coming out, but maybe I add more later. So once everything looks good, I see it all totals up automatically on the bottom, and I can instantly go send this out via email. So now that I've emailed it, you'll notice I just get to preview the email. And let's talk a little bit in detail about this, because once again, this is very consistent between the estimates, the work orders, and the invoices. All three applications work very similar to each other. So for each one of these, we're able to send an email out to our customer and give them information about this estimate. And what happens is, in the email, you can see there's kind of this pre-populated email template. You can customize the message that pops up here every time, so I can have several different templates. And inside of the template, there's a link to a web page, and they can actually review their estimate online here. But also, everything is going to come automatically with a PDF file attached to it. So they do have the ability to print out a paper copy of their estimate and store it for their records. Now, this PDF and the web page, they both can be customized as far as the look and feel goes. So yeah, you notice the basics, like my logo is thrown up on there, but you could even put like your terms and conditions on the bottom, which I never typed, or I could change colors, I can change alignment. Some people might want to call it quotes instead, so we can even change the text to say quote. We can change the file name, many different things like that. And then you'll see that it looks basically the same as the web page. So if you change your PDF template, the web page format will change as well. So this is the estimate that your customer would see, and they do have the ability to just request a change directly in here. And whenever looking at the estimate, there's a history. So I mean, maybe they just say, so maybe they say that actually I need my 5 more of those servers. So I'm not willing to accept it yet. So they can request the change. The system would shoot you over an email, and you have a special queue of everything where somebody's requested a change. So I can bring up that estimate. I can scroll down here. I can see, okay, well, on 10/30, they requested to add 5 more servers. All right, let me go ahead and I'll just update my estimate, and I can resend it out to them. So I can update my estimate. And then if they refresh the page, it'll actually update in real time. But there's also another built-in flow. So we can just go ahead and hit the send button, and it'll reopen that email prompt. It'll send them the updated version, and then hopefully they can approve that one. So they'd come here. They say, awesome, I see it's updated. Now I have 9 servers. I'm all good to go. I'm going to approve this estimate. So real quick, they just see it's been approved. And then once again, your admin would receive an email. So now you know to log in and move this estimate on to the next stage. So here we've got our approved queue, and we can see Katie's estimate right here. So now we've got an estimate, and they've approved it. We're basically to the point where we need to go schedule our resources on site, and we need to go deliver and install those servers. So for this is exactly what the work orders application is for. It's designed to take an order and then manage exactly what your technicians need to perform, and give them an area to schedule their window to go on site, and then also give them an area to update with the actual materials they use, if it was resolved or not, and everything like that before going to billing. So from here, we're going to convert our estimate into a work order. So now you'll notice it does look pretty similar, but we have a bunch more fields. Quick little note, every field can be customized. So we have severities like this. If your company wants to track different fields in here, if they just don't want to track this at all, perfectly fine. Just lots of different ways for you to help kind of categorize and prioritize which work orders need to be addressed first. Every company is going to have their own internal process as far as how they schedule work orders. Some just schedule them immediately every single time. Some of them have bandwidth issues, and maybe they're scheduling a few weeks out, so priority means a lot. Totally up to you based on how many you're processing, what your current pain points are. But yeah, the system will adjust to whatever you need. And let's see if there's a couple of important fields to run through. So yeah, I mean, customer contacts already pre-selected. We have the same template functionality. Here, there is a service delivery window. So let me take a moment and talk about the service delivery window. Basically, if your work orders are very commonly a single day delivery and you have a single window, it's a good idea to use this service delivery window feature, except if you're using Google Apps integration. If you're a Google Apps user, then using our built-in calendars feature with the calendar sync is definitely the superior solution. But if you're not, then using the service delivery window is actually a really nice way. It gives you a special calendar specifically for all of your jobs in the work orders app. So I'll schedule this, and I'll also show you how to use the calendar schedule in the other scenario. I'll explain a little bit about the difference. So let's just assume I can do this all at one time. I'm going to start off at 8 a.m., and I think it's going to take me till 4 p.m. that day. And then here, these are all just custom fields. Once again, you get to pick your own fields, so you can add your own, everything like that. And you'll notice that the services and the products have been brought over. Typically, at this stage, you would not be modifying. You would not be adding anything else. You're just going to go ahead and create it. And, oh, sorry, one thing I did not specify was getting it assigned to the proper person. So we just scheduled that window, but I totally forgot to go through the assign to. So on the assign to, I can either assign to an individual employee. So if I just have one technician who's going on site, if it's just Jack, I just select Jack and I assign it to him. And that means he can get an email notification, hey, you got a new work order scheduled. He'll be able to look in his calendar and see everything's pending. But sometimes you might have a couple people that are responsible. So, I mean, what if I have a team of 4 technicians that are going on site and they're all equally responsible? Apptivo actually allows you to form teams of your employees. And you can assign an entire team to the work order so it appears in all of their queues. So you'll notice instead of selecting employee, I can pick team. And in this company, I just have 3 teams. So I could say, like, okay, well, my engineering team is responsible for delivering all work orders. And then every once in a while, I'll assign one to the management team. So that way I can assign responsibility to multiple people at the same time. But yeah, definitely giving responsibility to the work order is a very important step. And now we'll just go ahead and update it. So now the work order is in there, and what we would see is the dispatch calendar. This is the special area that shows us all of our service windows, and it can be broken down by employee or by team. So you see in the employee views, because I assigned it to the single person, pops up right there, and I'd be able to click on this one. It would take me in to view the details of that work order. So the idea is that your employee comes in, they check their calendar, oh, hey, 9 a.m., I got to be here. Okay, let me go check out the details. And then the work order gives them a link out to the customer. They can get the address, everything they need from right here. So the other way that you might potentially schedule it, so let's say we have to schedule 2 different service windows. Like day 1, we're going to install, day 1, we're going to remove the old equipment. Day 2, we're going to put the new equipment in, something like that. In that case, it's better off using our calendar feature. So every work order has its own calendar tab. So on here, what I can do is I can schedule individual appointments that can once again be assigned to any series of people. So maybe I have 2 technicians going off on the first day. I've got Jessica and Kenny. So I could key that in for tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not going to adjust the times. And then I could also put in a second appointment right afterwards. I probably should have hit the create and new button. That's what it's there for. So now I can come in. Maybe I have a completely different crew who does the installation. So I'll come through and I'm going to add Scott and Francesca to do the installation. So you can see there I've got the 2 different appointments, and the 2 benefits of doing something like this is, one is if you're a Google Apps user, this will immediately get published over to your Google Calendar. So that's obviously, it's got its own obvious advantages. And then 2 is if your employees are working in other areas of the system. So I mean, especially in small businesses, sometimes you're going to have one person who's working on sales, estimates, work orders, and invoices. It's like everybody does everything. So in that case, it's really convenient to have everything put into the central calendar. So even my work order appointments pop up in my calendar, but if I had appointments scheduled for like sales activities or anything like that, then they're going to pop up in the same list. So it's really just helps make it a little bit more convenient for you. It gives everything a single view to look at all the details you need. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's head back to that work order. Basically, your employee would come in. Let's just say it was the day of, and they needed to go deliver that service. So they went on site. They were working on it. And then either when they come back to the office or maybe they've got like a laptop or an iPad on the go, they're going to bring up that work order and they need to complete it. Whoops. Yeah, so there you can see the effect of putting it in. I have Google Calendar integration, so it instantly came over and synced right onto my Outlook calendar because I have Outlook connected to Google and Apptivo connected to Google. So that just gives you an idea of how this does function, how quickly it goes around your different applications. Okay, so we're going to bring up Katie's work order. I just went on site. We'll just go back to saying it was a one-day installation to keep it easy. So I went on site, I tore everything down, I set everything up, it went great. It took me a few more hours than expected, and I actually had to use a couple additional materials during the process. So what I need to do is I need to update this work order, I need to say that I've completed it, and I need to put in those additional time and materials that I had to use. So from here, I can edit my work order, and I'll be able to scroll down. So let's say, it actually took me 7 hours to install, slight adjustment, same rate. And then in addition to that, they actually needed like some network cable. So they needed a couple hundred feet of that. So I can key in those details, maybe add a couple more products. And then down at the bottom, you'll notice when you're editing, you have a resolution summary. So I could say, down old equipment, installed new, tested everything. And then I can say, okay, I'm Kenny, and I'm the one who delivered it. And you can have like codes for how you resolved it and everything like that. And I responded today on the 30th. So I can update the work order. And then there's an optional step. So this is up to you and your company. Some customers would like to see the work order immediately and even approve it. So maybe you want to just get a second verification from your customer that everything was performed up to their satisfaction and that they are indeed ready for an invoice. So you'll notice you're going to have the same send button when viewing a work order. So if I hit send, then it'll do the same kind of system where it gives them a link to a web page and it gives them a PDF copy. And online, they would actually have the option to approve or reject this work order. So I'd be able to come in. Okay, I see updated to 7. See they had to add those products in there. I see the resolution. Okay, everything looks good. I approve this. So your customer says okay. And then just like the estimate, your admin is going to receive an email. It tells you that the work order has been approved. And now that's your indication that you need to take it onto the invoice. You need to go get paid for this service now, which is, of course, the best part. All right, so we got our work order. We could switch over, and we should be able to see the approved work order right here. So there we go, Katie's work order. And now I can bring this up, and I can move it on to the next stage. Just like all the other apps, you look in the upper right corner, and there's going to be a button to take it to the next step of the process. So I hit generate, and you see the only available stage is an invoice. So that's what we're going to go to. So now we're on the invoice creation page, and at this point, this type of screen should look pretty familiar. It's very similar to the estimate and the work order. Hopefully you don't really have to change anything. There's just a couple things that are kind of special for the invoices. The payment term is obviously important. You'll see the work order number is automatically included on here as a reference. We could give them a discount, anything like that. You have the same templating system, more custom fields. Typically, you're not going to make any changes to the invoice unless you're reducing the price of it. So if everything looks okay, then the only difference on an invoice is instead of asking for their approval, you're going to be asking for their payment. And Apptivo does integrate with several online payment gateways. So you can see here I've got PayPal configured, but I can hop in here and go set up. So if I want to say, oh yeah, I accept checks and I accept PayPal and I accept authorized.net credit cards, I can get everything set up. And then I am going to email this invoice out to my customer. So here, same type of look and feel, PDF file attached, link to a web page to review it online. But we'll notice the key difference here is when we scroll down, there's no approval or reject, just options to pay. So we've got these two methods. Now let's talk about how you finish this off. One is if you've connected PayPal or authorized.net, one of our payment gateways, everything happens automatically. So, whoops, you can't do PayPal for over 10 grand, so I'd have to do it for a different invoice. But basically, if I click that, it would open up the PayPal window. I would complete my transaction. If they pay it online, then we're going to instantly record the payment inside of Apptivo. We're going to mark that invoice as paid and completed, and you don't really have to do anything. But let's say that they sent you a check in the mail instead. So they send you a check, it's for the full amount, and it just says invoice number 1141. So I come to my invoice app, 1141. I can see that invoice, and it's currently got a balance of $15,000. And directly from here, I can manually record a payment. So yeah, I could resend it to the customer, print it out from my records, or if they sent me a check, I record a payment. I just select the type of payment, which is a check. Type in any notes or reference number, so maybe like the check number is good. And then if they paid you the full amount, then you just want to mark off your invoice as paid. And I hit save. And then what we'll see is as long as I checked mark as paid, the invoice status will update. And then what happens is you can actually send out a receipt to your customer. So the button changes from send to send payment notification. And then this has a special email template. It says, thank you for your payment. And if we download this PDF file, it can be stored for their records. So up at the top, paid off, and it's going to show us a balance of 0. And you'll notice it also includes like the work order details down here in the PDF as well. A couple little side notes on the payments. Not everybody goes through that smoothly. Not everybody just pays you all at once. Not everybody has a straightforward payment. So there's two kind of unique ways we can handle it. One, we can record partial payments. So if we have an invoice that's sent out but not yet paid, let me grab an example. So if I have an invoice like this, I could say they sent me a check for like $5,000, and I could leave the invoices unpaid. So when I record that, it will stay in open status, but if I print out the PDF, it's instantly updated. So whenever you make changes to an invoice estimate, anything like that, the PDF file will always update real time. So you just regenerate it, and now I can see down here, hey, they've paid me $5,000, so now their existing balance and amount due is updated completely. We do have integration, so let's talk a little bit about the existing balance real fast. We have the ability to set it up where if you sent 3 invoices to a customer and they have not paid their previous 2, then the third invoice will actually total up the values from the previous invoices. So that's what this existing balance is there's a bunch of unpaid invoices. And then on the other side, if maybe you had to refund somebody for some reason or they prepaid you, we have a credit note system. So if you type in a customer name, you're basically able to issue refunds for a specific payment or something like that, so they get credits to their account. And then if a customer has available credits when you're issuing the invoice, you'll see their available credits right here. So I could say, okay, I'm actually going to apply all 2,000 of their credit, and then it would deduct it from the actual balance due. Sorry, I have to put a value on this. So now I can apply my... There you go. So that's getting paid. Now with the last few minutes, what I want to do is I want to show you the impact of what happened, how you can kind of trace back through everything we just ran through, and then also some options for customizability. So first of all, remember we just worked with that Katie Gold customer. Let's just say you fast forward 6 months, you've never done business with the customer again, and Katie calls up and starts asking questions. How do you know what you did for this customer? I mean, my memory is horrible. I don't remember a month ago. I certainly can't remember 6 months ago. So that's exactly what the system is designed for, where I go searching for Katie, I can bring up her customer record. If I just don't remember this customer at all and I just need a refresher on what we've been doing, we can look at the news feed. And when looking at the news feed for a specific customer, we actually get events from other apps. So those updates to her estimates and invoices, they all pop up here. So I can see in order, I started off, generated a customer record, I created a new contact for, then I converted to an opportunity, then I took that opportunity, I went to an estimate, I had to update the estimate one time, and then I moved to the work order, I had to update the work order, then I moved to the invoice, and then I paid off the invoice. So that complete series of events pops up right there in chronological order. I instantly know my history with this account. And if any of my colleagues have been working with them in the meantime, I'm going to see my colleagues' events pop up right here as well. So really, really good as far as just being able to bring up the history of an account real fast. But this is just like the summary history. It tells you what you did, but yeah, I mean, I could click one of these, and it takes me to the work order. That's nice. But what if you've been working with a customer for a long time and they come asking you about an invoice that you sent to them 6 months ago? And you're like, oh man, I don't know what invoice I sent to you 6 months ago. Our system handles that extremely well too. So I've got this Max Salon customer. I have a ton of data with them, so I'm using them as an example. I'll bring up their customer record. And you want a history of invoices, you use this 360 view. So automatically when we're executing that process, everything's getting linked back to the customer. I didn't have to click anything, but the system was just doing it for us. So if I go pick invoices from this, here's every invoice I've ever sent to this customer. And I can do the same thing for every app. So if you want to see your work order history, I go right here, find work orders. Here's every work order I sent to the customer. Here's all the sales opportunities. Here's all of the support cases. And I can initiate records from here too. So let's say that they call in with a problem. So we just installed their servers and, oh no, they got the blue screen of death on one of their computers. They need our tech to come on site and fix it. Well, I can be looking at their record. I can see if that problem's currently in the database. And if not, I can instantly start keying in the details of the problem. And then I could go right into the service delivery flow and go dispatch that technician off-site. So although you are working on all those other apps, we didn't really look at the customer's app at all. Just remember, everything is traced back to that customer automatically. So it's really meant to archive your data and bring it all together for you. So you don't have to think about tracking your data in spreadsheets or anything like that. The system's just going to do it for you. So here we can go look at the past estimate. There's her estimate, invoice, opportunity, and work order all in one spot for you real quick. All right, so that's the impact of what happened. We ran through one whole deal. Let's just quickly run through a couple of the possible customization options that you have. One thing right off the bat I want to show you is the conversion flows. So specifically in the Opportunities app, you might have seen that when I was looking at an opportunity and moving it to the next stage, I had a bunch of different options. I had 3 potential paths. The Order app is actually for a company who sells physical products and ships them out the door. That might not apply to you at all. And if that's not relevant, if you're not using the Orders app, there's no reason to show to order here. And on the same line, sometimes you might have an internal policy that says we issue an estimate for 100% of the deals we work on. So I never want to be able to create an invoice without an estimate. So maybe I want to disable the to invoice flow as well. And inside of the settings area, we can actually change these business flows. So I look in the upper right corner, head on over to my settings, and then I'll see conversion. And I see there's a couple customizable flow there. So I've got like project turned off, but I could flip off the order flow if I wanted to. And I can do that with lots of different things. Otherwise, I talked about how you can change the fields. I'm not going to spend too much time. Just know that you got 100% flexibility. So here's my Opportunities app. You can see I've got all those fields. Let's say I don't use the campaign field. I can delete it. No big deal. Let's say I don't like the amount field. I want to say dollar value. I just edit. I change that field. And now it's instantly changed for all of my different systems. Let's say you need to track a section of like photo details, something like that. And I need to create a drop-down menu with a couple options. Okay, drag my drop-down over, name it, and then type in my options. Whatever it might be. And then instantly, when I go and I create a new sales opportunity, my fields are available right there. So go into photo details, there's my drop-down menu. So it's really, really simple to change how the app works. Yes, we build everything in with the default set. So yeah, you saw when you go to work order, you get severity, priority. Just remember all those fields are changeable. So I mean, let's head over to the work orders real quick. And we talked about like the severity field. Once again, work orders has its own settings area. I come in here, I'm going to see the severity field. Hey, here's the values for it. Want to rearrange them? Okay, move them up and down. Want to create a new value? Click that button. Want to change one? Okay. Works the same for all these different fields, and once again, you can create your own. The work orders is like the main fields that exist once per work order, and then we talked about how you can put a custom field on each individual line. So here's the configuration where I set up that drop-down to appear on every single line item in my work orders. Otherwise, I didn't really talk about tax support. You can basically build any sort of tax code you want. We have support for international all over the place. I guess the one thing I really want to show you right here with the last minute or two is the PDF templates, because this is totally important. You have the PDF template feature. It exists in work orders, estimates, and invoices. And each of them can have their own PDF templates. Our system comes installed with a default template for you to use, so that's what we're looking at right here is just the default. And then I could, like I said, create multiple templates. So I could create that extra one like called government template, or maybe I create like one for residential customers. And then it'll create a brand new template off of our default. But now I can come through here and I could like add a brand new section onto the entire template if I wanted to. And then I got there, and then I can go drag fields into it. So I can go, okay, well, I want to add my business logo down here. And then I would like to grab, okay, well, I just want to put some text in here that talks about our terms and conditions or like our customer guarantee. And I just want this to appear on every single invoice, so I can type that in. And then I could grab like, okay, well, now I also want the severity of the work order. And you see how I can basically just drag and drop all these fields, and I can move things wherever I want to. So I can change how my PDF template is going to look to the customers. And then, as you saw, when you send out the work order, you just get to select the look and feel. So each one of these, totally manageable. They all have a drag and drop editor. Feel free to play around with them. And all right, so I'm kind of done with my general demonstration. For some last thoughts, I just want to leave you with some areas to look for getting additional help and assistance with this process, but also just Apptivo in general. So let me go ahead and hop over to our website, apptivo.com. And the best place to get assistance is right here in the upper right corner on our Community tab. So this is kind of our general area into all things Apptivo. So right here you'll see a couple solutions. The service delivery process, this is what we spoke about today. So if you want a written guide that kind of runs you through, shows you that chart we saw earlier, this is definitely your solution. Come check out this link. It's right there on the front of the community page. It's kind of like your stencil for how you can use Apptivo. If you're just having trouble getting started, like setting up the CRM fields or getting your data into the system, like, yeah, we can import your customer database, use these links. Adding new users all available here. For webinars just like this one and future ones, you'll see we got the list up there. And you've also got some pre-recorded ones. So I certainly recommend taking a look at any of these. So earlier I mentioned like the managing your sales process. So go online, check out our YouTube channel. You can find there's actually like an hour-long presentation just on the sales process. And then, of course, getting help, like staying in touch with Apptivo, is I definitely recommend following us on our blog. So we do posts like this whenever we do an update to the system. We'll tell you all the cool things that have changed and the new features that are available to you. So if you just subscribe here on the right, we'll send you an email every time we do an update. And then as far as getting support goes, if you were just looking for general help, we got plenty of channels. You can always email us at support@apptivo.com. For our premium customers, we have 9 to 6 p.m. Pacific time phone support. And then we also have built-in support chat. With customers absolutely love this. Is anytime you're in the system, you pop up right there. There's somebody from Apptivo to help you out. We want you to be successful. We want your business to run smoothly. So please talk to us. We're always happy to help you out. And with that, the last thing I'll leave you with is just kind of the general info right here. If you want to reach out to me personally, I'm at todd@apptivo.com. If you have a generalized question, I definitely recommend going through the normal support team. Probably get a faster response. But yeah, absolutely. Any place I can help, I will help you whenever possible. And with that, I just want to give a quick thank you to everybody for attending today. That'll end our webinar. And I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Wish you all the best and hope you all have a great week. Thanks.